Hey guys, Duane and Carson here from BBR Motorsports. We're out in Seattle, Washington on a beautiful 80-degree day, which is rare for us out here, but we fired up the pit bikes. We got the Bobcat going and got that thing running and made a crazy mini supercross track. We took our beloved pit bike track and made the jump steep and stupid, so I can't ride it anymore, but I think Carson likes it.
Oh yeah, that thing's awesome.
Yeah, a little better for you guys. But anyways, we're out here testing the new Daytona 194 valve motor. The guys at Daytona have been working on this thing on and off for about 3 years, and they've done a great job with it. They started with a blank sheet of paper, and most of the parts won't interchange. As a matter of fact, I don't know of any of the parts that interchange with the Honda, Kawasaki, or the old Daytona motor. It's 190 cc's making 20 plus horsepower, so this thing rips. They're not fooling around. It's as fast as any of the previous BBR race bikes we've had. It actually feels like it's a couple of horsepower better than anything we've ridden before, and it's good horsepower. The guys at Daytona are really smart when it comes to flywheel weight and the ignition timing and things like that. The valve size, piston, carb size. Daytona is so good at matching that stuff up, and that's why they've won, most of the major pit bike races over the years with us and some other guys. It's been amazing how good the stuff is, and this motor is even better. They've added an extra plate to the clutch, which is better. The crank's a little bit beefier. 4 giant valves in it with a roller cam, so everything's going to last just a little bit longer in it. It's a good setup. Still uses the Honda shifter, Honda bolt pattern on it, so if you already have a chassis set up for the Honda type motor, it's pretty much going to bolt right in there. The motor is more the size of the Cowie 110. It's not quite that heavy. The Honda motor, I want to say it weighs like 46 pounds. This thing's just a little bit heavier. I want to say it's 7 pounds heavier, and then the Cowie motor ends up being even heavier than this, so it's kind of right in between. So it's a good size, and we'll take that 7 pounds any day if it keeps the thing together, and it looks like it has so far. They just beefed every nut and bolt up on it. It's running either a 28 millimeter carb if you want it torquey and punchy, 32 millimeter carb if you want it to rev to the moon and get all the dogs in the neighborhood howling. The thing will really rev high. So far so good. It's been running great. 1 down, 3 up shift pattern, which is rare for a pit bike motor. You can actually start it in gear by just pulling the clutch in like any regular motor would do. What do you think, Carson? You've been riding it for a couple days now.
Oh man, I think this thing's awesome. It's for sure the fastest pit bike I've ever ridden. And since the flywheel is so big, it's almost impossible to stall.
Yeah, it feels kind of tractor-like. Usually, we like a super light flywheel on these, but with 190 cc's, it still feels like it's spinning up quick, and it kind of tractors around and pulls you around the corners. You never have to worry about, keeping the clutch in and keeping from stalling it. What about, you're a real high rever where you like to bang the valves and the piston and wreck everything. Does it feel like it'll rev high enough for you?
I mean, yeah, it revs high, but it's fast enough that you don't even have to. I mean, you can just short shift it.
Yeah, that's what I noticed too. The power's super wide on it, and you can pretty much just leave the thing in 2nd or 3rd gear and it'll pull really long and far. In typical Daytona fashion, it feels like a little Honda 250F motor. If Honda was ever going to make a play bike, this is what it would feel like. Daytona's really good at getting all that stuff matched up. All right, with the new Daytona 190 motor, they widened things up a little bit to fit the giant clutch in there. If you're putting it into an existing BBR perimeter frame, you're going to have to move a few things around. To make the Kickstarter fit, the new splines are actually the same as the Honda XR100. So what I did was I took an XR100 Kickstarter, cut the shaft off, welded it to the back of the BBR Kickstarter, and for now that's been working great. That's the quick and dirty fix for that. The foot peg mount, I had to machine a notch in it to clear the clutch cover. And then we're running the BBR underneath brake pedal. So if you have an over-the-top style, you're gonna have to get the underneath, because with the wider case and shorter Kickstarter shaft, there's no room for an over-the-top setup. Another cool thing that Daytona did was they splined the clutch shaft, so you can move this arm anywhere you want it. So depending on what frame you have, that makes hooking up the clutch a whole bunch easier on these. The pipe is just a little bit different. Since the motor's bigger, the head's a little bit longer. I want to say it was like 3/8 of an inch further out. So you're gonna have to check. It's definitely got a way bigger opening on the exhaust port. So I think you're gonna need to probably lengthen the pipe, but we can help you with that too if you're doing a swap over. All right, guys, for the BBR crew, the magic of the Daytona motor has always been, you know, in the flywheel size and ignition on these things. I'll pop the cover off and you can check it out. It runs just as good as always on the new motor, so they didn't disappoint. It, you know, it's got kind of a little bit bigger flywheel than the old motor, but it matches the 190 cc's that they're using now. And the rev box on these has a few different settings where you can plug wires together and move the advance a little bit more towards the bottom, middle, or top. Doesn't do a ton. The stock settings are great on these. A lot of times I don't even plug them in, but it's there if you want to play with it. The other cool setup on these things too is they do this sideways valve cover. Is what it does is it gives you a little bit more access to the timing chain and sprocket. I'll pop that cover off for you too, and you can look in here. They simplified a whole bunch of stuff. They're using a O-ring on this valve cover instead of a gasket, so you can use it over and over. And you can see by using that sideways cutaway, you can get right to the cam sprocket bolts. Uses roller rocker arms so that the cam and all that stuff's gonna last a bunch longer. Lets it rev higher. Uses little adjusters like normal out on the ends of the valves. Doesn't use the bucket shim setup that can be a pain, but overall it's a great design. By doing that, you can get to everything a lot easier and it makes it super easy to work on. All right, guys, that's the new Daytona 194 valved engine. You can check more of it out at bbrmotorsports.com. We happen to have the two fastest riders riding for BBR Motorsports right now on the pit bikes, both AMA #1 plate holders, Carson Brown in the youth, and we've got Ryan Abrigo riding the pro class. We'll let Carson spin a few laps on this, show you what it can do, and then we'll head up to Ryan's track and let him beat on it a while and check it out. Enjoy.